The DJz of Dgen are an NFT team focused on the coming AR NFT revolution. Most are familiar with AR in the form of Snapchat filters, which ended up being a pretty accessible way to gain familiarity with AR. And in fact, the team features a former Snapchat designer who has worked on this first generation collection of avatars, which will be minting on the secret network. The secret network might be the ideal network for this pseudonymous identity in the form of NFT avatars. With me is MC Liquid. You can see he's sporting one of these NFT avatars himself. First, just introduce yourself and anything about the project you want to get out there up front. And the first thing I want to know is what's meant exactly by pseudonymous identity, and what does this have to do with AR or augmented reality?
G'day, g'day. Yeah, so I'm MC Liquid. I'm sort of the brainchild of the sort of the concept of DJz of Dgen. Have a team. My other half of my team is Artie Maslow from Ukraine. He's the former lead. Well, he was a lead designer, one of the lead designers of Snapchat. Actually, they had a huge design or headquarters in Ukraine before that all went to a different direction, unfortunately. But so the whole idea of pseudonymous economy, or rather the pseudonymous identities, which was really inspired by I'm sort of a big fanboy of his. His name's Balaji Srinivasan. So he was the former CTO of Coinbase, among many other things. Polymath of a guy. You can listen to a couple of his very deep, in-depth, and broad topics that are covered with Tim Ferriss. I highly recommend him. I would say that's probably my top three in the last 2 years. Either one of those that he's done with Tim are really, really, I mean, bang for your time and energy. Anyway, so he's been developing this thesis called the pseudonymous economy. And as we start to accelerate now into Web3 just now sort of becoming the new buzzword of the day. But the idea is essentially we are now kind of going back. You know, we're decentralizing the internet that has become centralized over time. And what's become apparent is that it's going to be a necessity for privacy and your own security that you're going to need to have a pseudonym of some kind, right? So right now you can see that people are using PFPs as sort of their, as their pictures on Twitter and socials and whatever. But the idea is, one, for fear of being canceled. Obviously, we're in peak woke culture right now. That's one use case. But yeah, the others, and I think probably more applicable, and I hope not to see too soon, but is if you start seeing these people online in real life, I mean, you potentially could be subject to attack, right, in some way, shape, or form. Right?
Absolutely. You already see it with what's going on in the United States. People are going to politicians' houses. They're going to Supreme Court justices' houses. And eventually that's going to escalate to where it's just like one tweet, right? It's going to send people to someone's house. So, yeah, I definitely agree with this so far.
Yeah, so I think that, if we accelerate into the future, and everybody points it out, but I kind of do think that's where we're going. I mean, you look at Ready Player One. I think it's kind of where things are headed, right? And this idea of the metaverse, I mean, it's clearly going to be a case of, well, we're not going to be our IRL selves, right? We're going to be something that, whether it's for fantasy, or if it's fun, or for security, for whatever reasons. This is, I think, now the precursor to that, right? And for a whole host of reasons, but certainly privacy and security are one of them. And then, I mean, it's not an alien concept. This has been around since time immemorial. You had all these authors that wrote in pseudonyms for similar reasons, right? We're just now bringing it to a digital layer.
Right. It's a digital layer for your physical appearance, so that you could still be, I guess, like, personable over a distance, right? Without using the, just the PFP, doesn't move, doesn't blink, mouth doesn't do anything, right? This is a little bit more. Well, before we started recording, we talked for over an hour, right? And it was like you were right here, even though I got to look at the your NFT here the entire time.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a way still to create that human connection, but while still, covering part. I mean, because I think at the end of the day, you are who you are, right? And that will come through. So you decrease on one level, you are able to build through action and words a reputation, but also protect your IRL reputation in life if anything should come at risk, right? So that's kind of the big premise. I mean, he's a very brainy guy. All you have to do is Google Pseudonymous Economy, and he's given a couple of lectures on it. So that was what inspired us. And a funny side note, I jumped on his thread. This is some time ago when we were just kicking off this project, and with my avatar, and I'm like, Pseudonymous Economy to the moon or something, and he liked and followed me. And then that's most of my followers were off that one tweet, and that's sort of my claim to fame as MC Liquid.
Well, you have a unique project, right? You mentioned Snapchat. Maybe for people who don't really know the exact difference, can you compare, contrast AR, VR,
Yep.
how these might fit into the idea of a metaverse, or one idea of a metaverse?
Absolutely. So really, the fundamental difference. Well, let's talk about the similarities of AR and VR. Software wise, hardware wise, all the same, right? It's fundamentally the same technology. The difference between them is full immersion versus layered reality or augmented reality, right? So it's just a visual layer on top of the physical world, and we haven't even really scratched the surface. And I think that for me is fundamentally why we went all in on the AR side of things. Is that it hasn't even started yet. And when you think about, I mean, especially when you look at these old sci-fi movies. I was a sci-fi geek. My mom raised me to be a sci-fi geek growing up, and you look at Minority Report, you look at maybe some of these other movies where you have these sort of holographic or hologram type things, and they're ubiquitous, they're everywhere, right? So we haven't even seen those yet. Everything we've done right now is still AR 1.0, as you mentioned, Snapchat, on your Insta, on your TikTok. So AR in that form is ubiquitous, so everybody gets conceptually what it is. But the reason why it hasn't kicked off, and this is where we're sort of taking the gauntlet, is because there's no economy at the moment, right? There is no way for me to purchase, there's no marketplace for me to purchase a filter, or there's no marketplace for me to purchase an AR artifact. There are a lot of disparate technologies out there that either are proprietary, so for commercial use, or if they're consumer oriented, they're like encapsulated in a walled garden like Snapchat. So everybody can use the same filter. I can't buy a filter. And I think now this is the perfect time to start exploring how we can, and this is why NFT and ARs, I think, marry quite well together, because now I can own an AR artifact that I purchase. Now that creates an economy. Now you have a demand side, supply side, because as a creator, as a 3D creator, I can create AR content that people then can buy, right? And that hasn't existed right now. And I think once we start to see these pockets start to come up where people can actually purchase these sort of new technologies, then I think you'll see an explosion. And then the hardware will follow, and then the ecosystems will follow, and then that will then, I think, fast track into the VR world. And I think the VR world has had the same struggle because there's no economies there. They're all siloed. They're all, Oculus or HEC or whatever. Well, how did I think another guy that I'm become a recent fan of, Punk6529, who's really trying to kickstart this whole revolution, right? And he posits that NFTs will be in orders of magnitude bigger than anything crypto, anything that we're talking about today. Because anybody can join it without having to understand all the background. It is an intuitive thing, right? Now, what he's saying is that while that's it, he even says that actually it's not VR, it's not metaverse. He says all actually the metaverse is, it's just a visual layer of the internet, right? So he just distinguished it. It's just a buzzword. And AR will be far more ubiquitous by his by his prediction. And I think just out of utility, and I think because we don't want to be escaping the whole time. So so he was making a comment on Meta, the Facebook Meta, and what they're doing, and it was he just did lol 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 lol, and the comment was, I think you can make stuff for Meta, and as a creator, you'll get 55% of whatever's sold, and he's just like, what, you guys don't get it, you're fucked, so
yeah, I think that corporations will definitely jump on the NFT bandwagon, and they're going to do it so badly that like NFTs are almost going to come with advertisements for other companies, right? You'll have to watch an ad go by before I could kind of visualize your layered identity NFT here. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not looking forward to seeing like the corporate versions of NFTs.
Well,
I'm really not.
yes and no. I think having the corporate will actually accelerate just the opposite. So I think I think corporates would be foolish not to.
Oh, they're going to have to get in,
Yeah.
but I think for the people who saw NFTs go from PFPs to more, it's going to be very cheesy to see like a Coke commercial,
Yeah, 100%.
some kind of NFT, or
100%.
oh, this NFL team get an NFT of a Super Bowl ring.
It's gonna happen though. It's gonna happen.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about these actual NFTs, right? Features of the NFTs and why secret network for the blockchain, and any features of the metadata that someone might find interesting or just valuable in the long run.
Yeah. Look, the whole pseudonymous play. I think it's funny. We were doing research initially last year. We were going to launch on Ethereum, and in order, Ethereum is obviously the big dog in the house, right? And trying to cut through the noise on Ethereum. Unless you have mega money, obviously if you're not blue chip, you're not really going, in my opinion, you're not really going to succeed on Ethereum. And the gas fees, I think, it's just for, I don't know. We just found we were going to hit a dead end fast, so we kind of paused everything, and then we recalibrated and said, okay, look, where can we go where we can grow as a project? And my biggest bags for the last year have been Atom, so Cosmos ecosystem. And I said, well, this is silly. Why don't I just look at the very thing that I've been investing in? And so I've been, I was looking at all the different chains. We looked at Stargaze, we looked at Omniflix, we looked at, the Passage. So we actually talked to a lot of the projects in the space. And Secret, once I gave a second, I honestly, I didn't know about Secret at the time. I'm like, who are these guys? And I started looking at it deeper and deeper, and I'm like, this really seems like a huge fit for us. I mean, obviously, from a values play, they believe in privacy. I mean, I think we all inherently believe in privacy in crypto. I mean, that's kind of how we got here. But I feel like they're actually building it into the tech. And from that point of view, it's been nothing but the right move for us. Even since then, all these people that are coming from the Secret Network and other projects are like, wow, we love what you're doing. It makes perfect sense. This is like pseudonymous economy or pseudonymity as a concept itself is still kind of abstract and high level, but it's something I didn't even have to sell to these people, because everybody inherently got it just boom straight away. And I'm like, okay, well, that's already a good start, and ultimately we want to be fun. I don't really want to talk about all the academic possibilities of what we can and can't do. I just want to do it. And but that also again aligns with the ability for people to grasp it straight away, And then I think that's where we can kind of grow, especially, as we mentioned previously, we think Secret is not only going to grow, but it's going to explode. It's a big sleeper.
Yeah, I definitely think Secret's a sleeper, and I think they have a little bit of a lead in the NFT space for the Cosmos ecosystem as a whole, right now at least. Let's take a look at your some
Yeah, so,
samples.
yeah, so these are and a little bit of alpha here. I kind of mentioned this into other groups when we do Discord chats and stuff. So right now, at what our ambition is beyond this, and this might dovetail into some of your other questions. Our ambitions aren't just to have AR NFTs, which on the face of it is, I think, still pretty forward leaning. It's definitely, there's not many of these projects that are doing this, but we want this to be a proof of concept on how we can start actually proliferating AR as a platform technology within crypto. It's a natural fit. So because of that, look, we don't have the massive resources it would take to build something like that from scratch, like Snapchat, right? So right now we're leveraging Snapchat platform. They have these plugins called one's called Lens Studio. Basically, it's a creator studio where you can use their cool toolkits to upload your stuff. And then they have an API that you will plug in, which is how I'm rendering my AR right now, through your virtual cam. So you have your default camera and then virtual cam. So I can use this on YouTube, Snapchat, or YouTube, Zoom, Twitch, anything that has a video setting. So we're using that as our base case, with the Snapchat. But ideally, what we're looking to do is actually create at least a beta version of what I'm showing you right now, but outside of the Snapchat ecosystem. So building our own Web 2 stack and then putting some Web 3 capabilities with it, like having an unlockable AR filter with your Kepler wallet in this case. But we wanted people to be able to kind of get conceptually what it is we're doing. So we've used these. We were just using the Snapchat platform, and I think people get it. And then
Right.
So now we can see demonstrably what it looks like, but then how do we accelerate that? And I think that's after Mint. We want to start getting into the tech side of things, and so we can really build on not just having the aesthetic version, but also the technical backend to support it.
All right, so you have your mint coming up in a couple weeks, right? Sometime this month, actually.
Yes, or beginning of June.
Oh, it's beginning of June. Sorry.
Beginning of June, yeah.
I mint one of these. What do I actually get? What does it look like in my wallet? In other words.
Yeah. So the thing is, and this was always a big debate for us, right? Because AR doesn't scale the same way PFPs do, right? So our PFPs, so we had like, okay, look, we need to be able to bring people into the community in a scalable way so we can go ahead and start accelerating the creation of AR. So what we've done is we've done a photorealistic fox, and they don't look like these foxes, by the way.
Okay.
They're in CD cases. They're pretty sick. I mean, there are 2,000 of them, 2,069. We've spent a lot of time and actually trying to make generative art off of 3D is super fucking hard, but we managed to do it. And so the idea is that these NFTs and just on the merit of the quality of the rendering of the art is already high quality, but these NFTs essentially are a community play. So essentially it's an investment into what we're creating, which is an AR storefront, or let's call it an AR incubator for AR artifacts, right? So you get the NFT, which then will guarantee for any future mints that we're going to do. Also, it's going to be, we've got tokens we want to do, but I didn't want to push those tokens out there until we had a fully robust form of tokenomics. I think a lot of projects will do tokenomics, or rather they'll just drop tokens without having really a game plan behind it. So I want to be very careful that we don't drop something out there that's going to basically just crash a project or crash a lot of expectations.
Right. Well, I see with some NFT projects, they drop a token and it's almost distracting because everyone, now the conversation shifts to like, what does this do? What can I do with this token? Where can I even get it? Right.
Yeah.
Can I trade it? Yeah, I've seen that before, and that was what I wanted to ask you at some point in the interview was about the token itself. So are you still working out utility for the token?
Yeah, so the utility would be immediately for the AR store, the AR store we're going to do. So the thing is, right out the gate after mint, I would say within 2 or 3 months, we're going to go ahead and basically whip out a storefront and actually start creating more AR. So a lot of them will be derived off the Fox because the Fox model is easier for us to turn around. Anything we do bespoke or has any sort of custom elements to it is really kind of where we want to expand out to. And then maybe even start getting people aware of the capabilities, not just filters, it could also be something front facing like a collectible. So really expand on that concept. And then even potentially down the road, maybe even be a de facto studio for IBC for anyone else who wants to do AR. We have the capabilities. Artie's, has nearly 5 years with Snapchat. We can actually create a proper full-scale production studio. But again, ultimately, what we want to do is how do we facilitate creation, not just from us, but any 3D artist into and actually help kickstart this AR ecosystem that we're trying to kick off.
Got it. So you envision a marketplace, right?
100%.
Separate from an existing marketplace, your own marketplace. People will be using your tokens and almost the same way as they would, use Snapchat filters with the difference being they'll actually own it. It'll be an
Correct.
NFT that belongs to them. And
Correct.
you're thinking that, and this is all going to be on the secret network.
Correct.
To your point. Got it. Okay. Okay. No, this sounds really good, and it makes sense. I was going to ask you actually about the holders, the fact that they buy the NFT, if this will give them the rights to the intellectual property, they'll be able to use this filter, if you want to even call it that, for let's say public appearances on,
Yeah, it's funny when I saw your question when you sent it over, I was like, wow, that's actually a great question because I'm not an IP rights kind of guy. I'm like, well, okay, that sounds cool, and not that only because I'm not well versed in that subject, but I think as a de facto, I think Bored Apes have proven as a model that that's what people really value.
I think so, and I think
Yeah,
it gives them free marketing because let's say you mint 5,000 of something, chances are a handful of them will be better than you at figuring out what to do with that NFT to
sure,
get exposure to the whole collection, right?
sure.
So I have one of my NFTs, and I buy the Yankees tomorrow, and I want to make this the logo on the front of the jersey, right?
Sure.
Why can't I do that, right? If you're telling me I
Yeah,
bought this NFT and it's unique, and I now own it technically, so yeah,
yeah.
no, that's. I mean, I don't know if it's a like the best question, the way to phrase it, but
Well, it's in principle. I would say in spirit and principle, I would say
in
yes.
spirit, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's what I don't know that I would never say 100% because you never want to paint yourself in a corner and you're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe we should have. And in this instance, I would, because it's based on tech that we don't own. That's where you could get into sticky waters. Because right now, obviously Snapchat is proprietary Snapchat tech. Now the 3D model that we've rendered through Snapchat, that is something that is created in house with us. So in theory, I don't think we have any issues with passing on that 3D model. Now the issue there is okay, as long as they are not then using that as a base template to go then you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things where you want that particular entity that they have full license, full go for your life. But as long as they're not using that in a way that devalues the
Right.
project of other holders, that would be the only thing I could think of. But I couldn't.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
obviously that can happen also, right? But you're
yeah,
hoping that the community that you build, it's a net positive when you
yeah.
when you say, hey,
Well,
do whatever you want. You want to go to a board meeting at your
yeah,
kid's school with this
100%.
virtual meeting because I happen to think that many of these gatherings, whether it's a meeting, a college graduation, they're going to be remote, right? Like
Yeah,
people will, or at least people will be able to tune in remote if they can't physically be there,
Yes.
right? And now you're letting anyone else in that meeting into your own house, right? And
That's right.
working remote, they're seeing everything going on behind you, whether it's your kid running by you in their diaper or the mess you have in the kitchen. And now they're seeing like what you actually look like when you don't get ready for work, right?
Yeah.
And this is just one way to just, it's privacy, identity, especially at the workplace is becoming a huge issue now, right? And at least now you could, you don't have to be seen the way you happen to look that day. Maybe companies now will have a set of their own AR avatars that their employees get
Yeah,
when they
that's
get
actually great.
hired,
I never thought about
right?
that. That is actually such a brilliant. Holy shit, that's actually a big idea. I
I
mean, I
mean,
know people are playing with that idea too, but I did. I
it's
never.
gonna
Never yeah.
it's got to go that way, because now that you don't have to worry about the meeting being completely taken off topic by so and so insulted somebody, or so and so called someone by the wrong name, or whatever it is. It's like, hey, you're the you, if I want my name to be Green Fox and my avatar is a Green Fox, I can't get offended, right? By
Yeah.
or at least distracted from what I'm supposed to do. And I've seen a bunch of my friends that had to do these remote meetings. 90% of the people have their cameras off, right? You don't even know if they're there.
Wow.
So I
Yeah.
think this kind of solves, and these are like big companies, right? And
Yeah.
they, and what's the supervisor going to say to 500 people in the meeting? Hey, so and so, turn your camera on. Hey, so and so, it's too dark. Is it really you there? And
Yeah.
I think this solves, maybe not a major problem, but it solves like some friction and some inefficiency in the whole work remote, or have remote meetings, or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
remote events. So
Yeah. I think
anyway,
that's a no. That's a great. And it's funny because the Anons, which are the OG back
yeah,
on the Stash Secret Network, and we did a collab with them, and a lot of them instantly say they pinged Alter, because Alter's that calm app that is obviously it's chat and email on blockchain, and they're like, hey, could we use this? And Alter's doing a deal with I think it's called Huddle. It's called Huddle, and they're a Web3 video plugin. So the very thing we're on right now, it's kind of like a Zoom for blockchain. And
got it. Okay.
I tried it. We jumped on a call last week. I tried it, and they're going to be partnered with them to integrate that. And then I'm like, well, now, so we're in talk. I'm probably leaking more alpha there, but we're in chats to like partner up on how we can bring in the AR component, which is an obvious hand in glove fit there. I was like, oh, okay, this all makes sense now.
Well, the AR component, the way you visualize it, is a huge upgrade from the PFP, right?
Yeah.
It's a massive upgrade, right? And eventually, even like something as simple as like a Twitter profile picture, it can't be stagnant all the time, right? So there has to be something engagement's going to have to get more and more interesting at a faster rate, I think. And like we said before, we had a conversation for like an hour before I hit record. It was no different than if you were right here. But if it was just a picture, right? I don't know what you're really doing if I can't read body language that way. So yeah, I think this is definitely unique, because I haven't seen anything like this yet, and I'm scouring NFT projects.
I'm surprised more people haven't done it, to be honest. And there are a couple projects that do have it, but it's not their feature set. Like this is core,
Okay.
This is core to what we're doing. And I'll tell you why I think it is, and it's the thing we're struggling with ourselves too, is that with PFPs you can even though they're all unique, you're still working with a base template, and PFPs scale in a way that AR doesn't.
Right.
It's very
the generative art in general is like,
yeah.
You want to make 1,000, you want to make 10,000,
that's
100,000.
Right.
It once you get those components down, from what it sounds like anyway, talking to artists, you just, as many attributes as you want. You could scale it like crazy.
That's right. And to my knowledge, and we'll try and crack this nut, but again, you just need resources. We'll try and add some element of that does scale, but at the moment, every filter we create is very hands on. Even if we make slight adjustments, you're still talking about at least an hour or two of time at a minimum, to get there and change the model, and then because we're rendering it through Snapchat, you have to go through their approval process. So everything that gets uploaded, they have to approve.
Let me get to the mint, right? What information do you have, at least at this point, for you know um, the day of the launch? How can someone get a hold of these?
Yep. So we're going to be minting from our website, DJzofDgen.com.
I'll put
And
that definitely down
yeah,
below.
yeah. So that will get you the Fox, and then look, we're not especially now with a whole Terra collapse, we're not entirely sure what's going to happen. I think everything's going to be a bit soft, but we're just going to soldier on. And so what we're going to do is, I think, we're gonna make sure that everybody gets as much value as possible upfront, right? And then as we build, we'll continue to sort of to be able to continue to bring value to the holders. But I think one of the easiest things for us to do that will have a tangible outcome for is we'll have these high res, because right now they're in CD cases. We wanted to be kind of different when we made these. I'll send you an image separately, but is that when people do use them as PFPs, you want it to be high res. So we'll strip out the CD case where you just have the Fox by itself. So it's a 4K res. I mean, it's a very manual process, by the way, because we have to go strip it out. But we want to make sure that everybody at least has something that's tangible to that. And then straight away, within a couple months, we'll go ahead and kick off that AR store, and then start bringing up activity that will engage people, and hopefully we'll be able to do some really sick airdrops with those NFTs. And then as we start bulking down the tokenomics, then we can start talking about how we could use the Scratch token in the AR store. So that's our initial plan. But the mint itself will happen beginning of week. We're going to do it on the week of consensus. We'll announce the date very soon. So that's going to be TBA. And then I don't know what else do you need to know about the mint? I think it'd be pretty straightforward when you go to the site.
If you have your own site, it'll definitely be straightforward, it seems. And I think secret mints for me have always gone really smooth, because the projects I've minted, you use your own website, right? You're not using up like a clogged platform that if there's multiple mints going on, which has happened on other blockchains. And I guess the price you have to wait till like last minute, I would imagine, right? That's what a lot of creators are doing.
That's a great point. I've been doing the math on the numbers on.
It's like too much volatility to commit, right? A month or even like a week at a time.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I want to make it attractive, where people are like, wow, we have to do that. It's just a good deal. But at the same time, it has to be viable for the project. So we're not putting ourselves in the corner. I would say right now, at the low end, we're thinking 50 secret at its current prices right now, which is about $2.
Yeah, so like $100, right?
Yeah, I would say roughly $100, which, I mean, just for what we're talking about, where we're going, I feel like we were gonna look, given that the market is where it was, we were going in probably at a higher price point, but I think now we want people to get comfortable with what we're doing and deliver as quickly as possible. I think that's a big thing. And then when the market corrects, then the value secret will go up, and that's good for us also.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I think also what's going to eventually have to happen, maybe not on Ethereum, it's not that necessary. Platforms are going to have to just allow minting to happen in a stablecoin, and then it'll be much easier for the creators to kind of estimate, what's going to happen after the mint, right? And then people can plan, okay, $100, whatever, $500, whatever it is, they'll have it ahead of time. But I would say like the last month and a half, I've seen more creators, they have to wait till the last minute to give the price. But if you're ballparking it, around 50 secret, that's definitely you're giving me a lot of info here.
Well, you know what?
I don't know if you want me to release this video right away.
No. Actually, no. I'm happy. And all eyeballs are good eyeballs. And but it's interesting. My counter to that, the stablecoin, is that actually, I think we were talking about earlier that that crypto isn't fully uncorrelated from the stock market, right? I think we can see that, but I would argue that there might be an uncorrelated market with NFTs. And what's interesting is that because the value of that wouldn't go less than the fiat value, right? So somehow in Ethereum, what's proven to be the case is that while Ethereum goes down, somehow the value of that NFT is still quite high, and then when it recalibrates, it goes way up. So
Well,
that's
NFT market cap's been increasing despite what's going on in the crypto market. Yeah, it's definitely holding value. It's not a bad place to put, especially quality projects. Let's say, right? I think
that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know, it's
quality
kind of
projects
like,
will separate themselves out.
that's
Absolutely.
right. I mean, I think that's a good parallel to art, or that's something that's still, obviously it's going to have some price, differentials, but it's not going to be, because it's not as liquid, because you have to find people that want that, whatever whatever the project is. But two, if it is solid, people are going to, hey, it will retain value better than a highly liquid asset.
Right, right. Well, you always hear like, oh, Bitcoin's a store of value, but each chain needs its own store of value as well. And for now, it could be like the high end NFT projects.
Yep,
right?
the blue chips. Yeah,
that and the blue chips might only be 5% of whatever's been minted on that chain, or it might even be only 5% of one collection, right? So but we'll see. What you're saying definitely makes sense, because I watched the market cap of NFTs go up while everything else is going down. And like, all right, there's definitely something here. There's definitely something here.
It is. I mean, obviously we hope so. That's the case for us as well. And I think where we're probably adding, and again, there aren't any projects doing this. I think personally, what excites me is, while it is an aesthetic play with the AR stuff and the utility play with the filters, there is a legitimate tech play here, and but I don't want to. That's why I didn't put that into our project, but that's certainly part of the design of what we want to do. Is we want to be able to develop tech around this, but it's kind of one of those under promise, over deliver. I'd rather that people discover that as we're building it out, rather than promising up front and saying 100% that's going to happen.
All right. Well, since you brought it up, let's get into the roadmap, if you want to call it that. Your future plans. What's priority after the mint? If you can get as specific as you can.
I would say two things. One, you have one of the questions about why a fox, right? So we actually had several characters we could have gone with first, and the only reason we went forward with a fox is one of our previous investors, he liked the fox, so we actually created a fox for him, and so we just sort of committed down that pathway. And as cool as the foxes are, they're not nearly as cool as the rest of the characters we've created. It's just, and the foxes are pretty cool, but I guarantee you, if you see these other ones, it would be, it's jaw dropping. So
but this mint is only foxes, or it's a variety of characters?
Only foxes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So this goes to sort of to that question of, well, what do we do next? We would very quickly start. How do we then go to this next? Because when we need to find the right mechanism, right? Because we're not trying to do 10,000. That just, one, I'm not interested in doing that. I think it's just it's unwieldy. But I think also it's more interesting to have a core base of community. I want a highly engaged. I was talking to a friend yesterday about Kevin Kelly, who's a former founder of Wired magazine, and he's a sage man. And he wrote this seminal blog post about 14 years ago now, nearly 15, called 1,000 True Fans. And the idea is that now with the internet, you can live in the long tail. So it doesn't matter actually what wasn't possible 30, 40 years ago is possible today. And an artist can actually, make a sustainable living, off 1,000. And that's an arbitrary number. It actually doesn't matter.
Right.
The idea, you don't need millions. And in this case, we don't need tens of thousands or whatever. if we had an army of 1,000 or thousands, I mean, let's say look, but the point is an engaged, not just hardcore flippers, people coming in. I think that's more desirable in the short to medium term. Long term, you let it go where it goes. So with that in mind, we want to go ahead and start building out these other characters so people can see what we're capable of. And this is we'll be dropping some fire video next week. I can't wait. It's so, oh my god, it's gonna be so good. So I think people will, and you can see our video now. Our latest video that we dropped a couple weeks ago. I think it just again shows our capabilities, and that's what we want people to get excited about, and then start seeing the creative side of things. So that'll be the first thing we'll want to do and that'll be in tandem with getting this AR store out the door. So at least people can kind of say, hey, that's cool. And then we probably, I think at first, we'll try and do as many airdrops as we can with our current holders. And then we'll start to, again, conceptually put the AR store where people can see these other things we're working on. And then what we'd very much like to do is start pushing towards a second mint of a second cast of characters, right? Maybe even more than, other maybe more than 2 characters on the second one. So that's kind of where we just start driving, because the good thing is a lot of these projects, it's kind of like you buy and hold and you just hope something's going to happen. We have all the full house and capabilities of continuing to develop all these AR assets. And that's the exciting thing. So we don't need permission to do that. We just go and do it. And we can show people, and I think get them excited. And that's how we can continue to commercialize and build value in the project. Yeah.
Overall engagement in NFTs the last 6 weeks has been a little rough.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a consequence of just everything else happening with the markets. And you never know, out of the different IBC chains, Secret could buck that trend. Out of the NFT chains, Secret, I think, maybe has the best chance to go against the grain there.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. So we're going to I'm going to end up doxing myself at Decentral and Consensus, which is fine. I don't have a problem doing that in person with people. I think, ultimately, it's hard for us to be fully pseudonymous. When I've been in crypto now for nearly 5 years, so I've got a lot of friends in this space, and certainly they know who I am, in both capacities. But I think from an online perspective, we just want to demonstrate proof of concept, not only from the idea of pseudonymity, but also the AR stuff. So I'm pretty sure you and I will end up meeting, at one of these conferences, and so in that sense, and I know there's also a big thing around doxing teams that are doxed or whatever, and I think the spirit of what they're saying is right, but I think inherently what they're saying is wrong, because after all, Bitcoin was created by somebody that we don't know who he is, and it's this is that space, and it comes with risks, and I think you look at our man Doe, we know who he is, he's fully doxed, and I don't think many people have a high opinion of him, at least, well, I would maybe a lot of people do, but being doxed doesn't mean you can't get scammed. So
no, that's definitely true. Definitely true. I think it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction when you hear about a couple rug pulls happen back to back. You're like, oh, well, if the creators were doxed, well, you don't know that. You don't know where they're set up from. No one might ever go after them for what, United States is a little bit different. I think that you will definitely see regulation happen where if a team promises something and they had no intention to deliver it, doxed or not, I think they're going to end up getting in trouble. I think that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But for conversations online like this, there really is no reason for you to be doxed to talk about NFTs with me, or at least until we know each other.
And that maybe underscores another point, doxed versus non-doxed, or certainly with these ARs, right? So as you mentioned, hey, it's kind of like I'm there with you. I think when you have a human being, there's a certain presentation that they give, call them micro cues, and it could be audibly or visually, whether that person has an ill intent or not, and so I think a lot of these rug pulls, whether they set out, I think some projects, unfortunately, probably rug pulled out of necessity because they just don't have enough runway. But a lot of them, they set out to do scammy stuff, and and that's where I think in an instance where if they like let's say they had this you would be able to pick up on it. We all know phonies. You see a phony, you're like that guy, something about him's not right. And I think this would be that intermediate where you could be like, okay, I don't know who they are, but I like what he's saying and I like how he's presenting himself or how they're articulating. You know what I mean? Because again, there's still that human element.
Right. And I think a lot of the rug pulls, maybe the team was really good at NFTs, not so good on the business side of it, and just couldn't continue.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
That's crypto, though. I mean, that ultimately that's crypto. So I think a lot of people.
I think so too. I think good for them for trying. Yeah, some people, but that's why you don't mint 50 of something hoping to flip 40 of them the next day. So
That's right.
it's like, and a lot of that is the loudest Discord members arguing or yelling at the founders because the floor price went too low makes it even easier for them to walk away. Right.
Yeah.
And I almost don't blame the creators when the community is just, I don't want to say toxic, but they don't know anything either. They're just, I want the floor price to go up because I have this many NFTs and I want to sell them all. Right. That's basically the argument from the whales who have no interest in the project. And the creators are like, hey, I'm an artist. I never started a business before. This is my summer break from college. I'm going to start school next week. I don't have time to manage my Discord, fulfill my roadmap that, another guy made that has since quit the project. Right. That's the other thing. Sometimes everyone around them quits and they're the last one. So they get kind of blamed for the rug pull. Some rug pulls, yes, they probably ran it from scratch. Right. That's just the nature of business in general, I guess.
And I think on the other side of that, like obviously they're cash grabs, right? There's a lot of projects out there like, hey, look, it's all the hype. You don't see so many now just because people, I think, a little bit wiser for it. But
I think there's less loose money around right now as well.
That's true too.
But here's the thing, like, don't rug pull me, but also I don't want to let you rug pull me. No one's forcing me to give up my money for this NFT, right?
Yeah.
So I've heard of people who literally they watch the Block Explorer. They see a bunch of NFTs flying through the Block Explorer, and then they run and go mint it. They just see the action. It's just there's definitely a psychology to this. There's definitely a psychology to this. Hopefully, the psychology starts to revolve around the team being a legitimate business, right? And having a plan that's reasonable, and they have their their finances lined up to achieve that. And part of that has to be the price of the NFT has to be a little bit higher than like $30 or $40.
Yeah, no, and I think that kind of goes back to like, what is it you're offering? And in our case, and I think we're because they don't, feasibly we'd love to give everyone an AR straight off the bat, but that's not possible. So we've created these high quality NFTs that are kind of an entry point into that will lead to the AR. So we're trying to figure out some fair mechanics that will, whether it's a lottery or whether, again, with the token, whatever, that will, hey, look, if you're as long as you're with us for the ride, we're gonna make sure that the values return in, as more than what you've given us. I think that's the whole point. That's how a good project becomes a great project, right? As long as you, and there's plenty of case studies out there where projects, they just continue to give those initial supporters, more and more value. So that's just hard. That's just sweat and tears, man. You just got to roll up your sleeves and just start creating cool stuff.
Well, this is definitely unique, definitely cool. Just met you, like this today. We met on a Twitter Spaces. It's the first time I heard about the project. I'll put all the links in the description. I'll definitely jump into the Discord and poke around and
that's awesome, man.
learn as much as I can.
Could use some Discord.
For sure. But thanks a lot for taking the time. Really enjoyed the chat. I'll definitely be talking about this one for a while. Have not seen anything like this before, and I wish you the best of luck, definitely with the mint and everything going forward.
Thanks so much, mate. Cheers.